Today we're going to be doing another book tag. This is Would You Rather, the Reader Edition. And I found this on, I think it's ZZ or Zay with Books. And I'll tag the blog. And they noted that it was created by Kristen Craves Books. So I'll put both links in the description. So Sir Chunk and I are going to both do this. So this is a Would You Rather for book lovers.
Chunk.
Yeah. Yes, Chunk. And yeah. All right. So the first question is, would you rather have a friend who loses your books or dog ears them? So that one's easy for me because I dog ear my books and I like my books to be loved and, folded over and bent and the spine bent and writing in it. And I like books to feel like somebody has loved them and read the hell out of them and they're like, they've been around the block. That makes me happy. I love going to used bookstores and just seeing books that clearly, people have read many, many times. It just makes me feel like this book has seen things and it's obviously an enjoyable enough book that people just, keep passing it around. And I like that. So, Sir John?
I'm the opposite. I like my books to look beautiful even after I read them. I get annoyed. So if I had a friend, although I'd rather have them dog ear them because I get the book back, but then in response, I will dog ear my friend. I will fold their face until it has got a crease in it, and they will not be allowed to borrow any more books. They will have trouble reading with a creased face anyway.
Yeah, so we share books, so that goes well.
That explains the creases in your face.
Would you rather secretly love a book everyone else hates or secretly hate a book everyone else loves? In my experience, I don't generally love the books that everyone else loves or hate the books everyone else hates. So it really doesn't matter to me because this is pretty much my experience. I always seem to like the things that either no one has even read or people don't really like. Or then when I read the things that are really popular, I'm always just like, eh. So I guess if I had to secretly... it's not really a secret because I just seem to have different tastes than a lot of people. I would probably rather hate the book everyone else loves and just keep it to myself because, I'm not going to rain on anybody else's book parade. But it's kind of rough when you love a book and everyone's trashing it in front of you. So I guess, yeah, I'd rather hate it.
I am a rainer of parades and I don't keep secrets. So I would just say how I feel about it regardless, but I think I'd have more fun hating a book everyone else loves, because it's easier to be like, well, here's what I didn't like about it, and try to convince people why they didn't like something, if I was going to convince someone. So yeah, I guess I'd rather hate stuff somebody else loves, which is what usually happens to me, because I hate almost everything.
All right, so would you rather be stuck on a very long plane or train ride without a book? So this is a tough one for me. Normally, I want to say, realistically, yes, it's going to be plane ride. I do read on trains more than I read on planes. On planes, I'm terrified of flying, and I get very, very anxious, and I just kind of stare at that little map, to see where I am and where the progress is. Yeah, and I've traveled a lot to Europe, and, I'm on the East Coast, so I spent a lot of time staring at Reykjavik on, the little dot. But that realistically, I probably wouldn't actually read it on the plane. But I think, I like trains. And so I could entertain myself on a train, just looking out the window and, seeing the world. On a plane, it's kind of cool at first. You're like, oh, look, the ocean, or, oh, look, some land. But after a while, it's like some more land, some more ocean. So, yeah, I'd rather be, on a train without a book than on a plane.
Well, in this case, it's not super relevant to me because I get horribly motion sick. And if I read on either of those things, I'm going to vomit all over the book, which I will then wait for the vomit to dry and I will lend it out to the person who dog ears my books. That being said, I guess I'd rather have a train because you can move around a little easier on a train. There's more options on a train. In an airplane, you're stuck in your one seat or you're kicking people to go to the bathroom. That's pretty much all you can do. People get really annoyed, too, if you, open the windows in a plane. People get, sucked out and stuff. They hate that. So, yeah, train.
You'd rather have a book or would rather have
I'd rather be stuck on a train without a book.
Okay.
but only because I
Yes.
can move around a little more.
Right.
Either way, I'm puking over everything with a book.
Would you rather have dinner with your favorite author or favorite character? And I noted in my bookish questions that I don't really want to meet my favorite authors. I'm super awkward. I don't really do well in social interactions. So I guess my favorite character, because they'd be fictional, so it'd be a very easy dinner to, deal with. And also, my favorite characters would not find me awkward and weird, because that's what I like about them as characters, is they're kind of awkward and weird. So we'd kind of get along. I don't know if the author, even though they created maybe a character I love, I don't know if they would kind of be cool with my awkward weirdness.
Yeah, I definitely would go character, because you can, learn about the character that you don't have otherwise. Having the author talk about it wouldn't be the same. And also, I have no interest in meeting, people or famous people. Whenever I see them, you could win a prize to have dinner with this person. Why would I want that? That's just going to be awful and awkward. So at least with a fictional character, I'd be like, hey, remember that time you did this thing? What was that about? And they're not going to have a lot of context because they just exist inside a book. So, yeah.
Would you rather date a character you have a crush on or your crush from real life? Well, I'm married, so this is kind of a tougher one. So, assuming I wasn't married and I was single, I would rather date a character that I have a crush on, because my experience pre-marriage was that, yeah, I didn't really like being in relationships with people, and everyone kind of sucked, and I have nothing good to really say about relationships I've had. So I don't think real people are good, and I don't really want to date them. So I would rather date fictional characters.
Interesting. I, of course, have no crushes, either in real life or in fictional. And of course, I never would or ever would, because I'm married. And that's the answer I'm sticking with. And no amount of torture or lawyers are going to make me say otherwise, because my wife is next to me.
Nice. Would you rather have your favorite book turned into a movie or your favorite movie turned into a book? Absolutely my movie turned into a book, because, even though there are some good film adaptations of books, I never feel like they're always supplemental to the book. They never go, you never watch and go, that did a better job, or, oh, that was perfect. There's always something missing, where at least a movie turned into a book, you feel like you'd probably get deeper into certain character motivations and stuff. So definitely movie becoming a book.
Although I think the things that have gone from book to movie are usually worse than the things that have gone from movie to book. I'm generally probably more interested in seeing what happens when a book turns into a movie. So, for example, I like the movie Aliens, and the book is pretty cool. Give us some extra stuff. I like that. But then you take another book, which I have no example right now, but there's probably a million of them, like Lovely Bones was a great book, and it was an absolute trash fire of a movie. That being said, I still feel like I'm more interested in getting the visual perspective of a book I really like, just to see what they do with it. And also, I love complaining. So if I get a book that's really bad, I say, oh good, let me point out why this book is bad. Everybody wins except for the people forced to listen to me.
All right. Would you rather read a book with an annoying cliffhanger or one where your favorite character is killed off? So I've read A Song of Ice and Fire in the books in that series. So clearly I would rather have my favorite character killed off. Ideally, when my favorite character is killed off, they're not killed as part of a cliffhanger for 25 years.
Yeah, I really don't like cliffhangers. So, at the end of Dark Tower 3, there's a cliffhanger, and it took 15 freaking years for that to come out. And as we know, at the end of, oh my god, I can't even think what it's called, Dance with Dragons, would that come out in 2006? It's 17 years. And every time around this time of year, they release a PR thing that says, we don't know when it's coming out, but we know it won't be this year. Great. Perfect. So I'm done with cliffhanger. If you're going to write a cliffhanger, do it like Hunger Games, where the other book's already written, and this thing's coming out in 6 months. Okay, fine. But if you didn't write it, don't do a cliffhanger. Your book's not done. You can't just stop in the middle. I mean, Dance with Dragons isn't really a cliffhanger. Dude just I'm tired of writing, publish this. And he just wandered off into the streets for 2 decades. So kill my favorite characters.
Yeah, I mean, I like dark fiction anyway, so, like, I'm used to my favorite characters dying, and I like that, and I'm fine with that, so, yeah, I can't stand cliffhangers. Especially, leaving Jon Snow dead for, as long as he's been dead.
And that was 2 books ago.
Would you rather lose the ability to read any new books or the ability to reread books you've already read? As much as I love rereading things I've already read, I would definitely rather lose that ability, because I think even if I find, if it takes me a while to find something I like as much as, my favorites, I think there's always going to be books I'm going to like. And there's so many books on my TBR, and there's so many books I'll probably never get to. And I have a tendency every so often, especially when I'm in a reading slump, I'll just be like, I'm going to go back and reread something I love. So, and that just delays me getting to the TBR even worse. So I would definitely rather lose the ability to reread.
Yeah, I don't reread that many books unless it's for work, and that'd be problematic not being able to reread them for work sometimes, because it's difficult to get every single detail when you're trying to talk about stuff. But yeah, I'd still much prefer to be able to read things I haven't read. So much as oh man, I love this book, I want to reread it, I don't reread books that often, so easily for me, outside of the complication of work.
Would you rather live in a library or a bookstore? So, absolutely a library for multiple reasons. First of all, they're going to have older books. They're going to have a lot more variety because, they're not worrying about what's selling and making money. So that's one. Two, the books in the library are free. So I can just live there and then just take all the free books I want and just enjoy them. Yeah, so absolutely a library. The only exception to this is Shakespeare and Shakespeare and Company in Paris, because that's a built-in living space within that cool ass bookstore. So, but for the most part, yeah, why would I want to live somewhere where the books cost me money rather than live somewhere where the books are free?
Well, you live there, so you could probably just read it and put it back. Also, the problem with bookstores is people are gonna be coming in all the time. If I'm living there, I don't want to be walking out of the shower and someone's like, how much for this Updike book? And I'm like, get the hell out of my face. I'm naked. Always happens. The amount of times someone come up to me asking me about John Updike books while I'm naked. Anyway, libraries. Also, library got that cool ladder. You can the wheels. You can just jump on the side. Wow! Fly along the side of the books on a wheel. So
some bookstores have that.
But more it's a library thing. Don't try to push me toward a bookstore. It's not happening. Biblioteca.
Also, libraries do ask for silence, so that would be nice. The only other thing that they would have the cafe, a lot of the bookstores have cafes in them, so that would be kind of nice.
Well, I'll just bring a bag of pistachios to the library.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Would you rather lose your place or get a paper cut every time you read a book? I'd rather get a paper cut. Whatever. It's not that painful and it's annoying, but the amount of time that I feel I would waste, it would be not that big much time to find your place again once. But if every time you open the book or you read a book, you have to find your place again, think of how much time that would add up to. And that's at least a whole book. And that's too much time wasted that I could be getting to other books.
Yeah, and it's how many times are we getting these paper cuts? Is it every time you turn a page, every time you start a book, just once per book? This is an unclear problem. But I do know that when I lose my place, I become mildly enraged. It doesn't happen that often, but sometimes, you pick your book and your bookmark's I'm getting out of here. Yeah! And it jumps out of there, and then your book, gets hit by a gust of wind, and, it closes, and then your cat, kicks it through a soccer goal, and you're oh no, I lost my place. That's pretty annoying and complicated, so I guess I'll take the paper cuts.
Would you rather have to always read in the dark or always read books with tiny text? Well, I'm not so good with, with the vision. I constantly have to get new glasses prescriptions because I can never see anything. And part of that reason is because I used to always try to read in the dark, when I was in the back seat of my parents' car. Whenever we'd go on family things, I'd be trying to squeeze, every little light that kind of street light went by. They're oh, one word, or one sentence. But I would say in the dark, because you can listen to audiobooks in the dark. But there's not really a lot of ways around the tiny text, I guess, unless you get a magnifying glass or I guess if you have a Kindle, then you can just make it bigger. So But I'm assuming, they're talking like a book or an audiobook. So I'm going to say in the dark. Plus, you can always like get a light.
Well, you can't use an audiobook because that's not reading. There's like you're breaking the logistics.
Well,
of this
I don't know.
question.
I can't read either of them then.
Yeah, if it's in the dark or the text too small, I can't see nothing. If it's like in the dark but light enough that you can see, I would pick that one because I can see. Tiny text, I'd use a magnifying glass. I already got me a magnifying glass because I'm a detective, so that wouldn't be too super horrible. But if I was able to see enough in the dark, I like the dark anyway. So I prefer the dark as a mood, which is like a little bit of light. So let's go with dark.
Okay, would you rather read by a fireplace or on the beach? And this is easy. A fireplace, obviously, one, I don't have to go outside, and that's a thing I like to do is not go outside. And two, I don't like sand. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's coarse and gets in everything. Sand.
You're supposed to say it in the whiny
Anakin?
voice.
I don't want to. I don't like it.
I was going to try to do the voice, but I can't do it, and he won't do it.
I can't do it either.
All right, so anyway, obviously, Anakin aside, I don't go to the beach. The beach to me, unless it's like raining and there's like the waves are crashing on like this rocky shore and it's like really dangerous to be out and you feel like you could be swept into the ocean any day. I don't really go to the beach unless that's the situation. So like the idea of going to a beach where there's like people and like sound and things happening like is literally my nightmare. So yeah, by a fireplace.
And yet, whenever I do something where I'm at threat of being swept away by a tidal wave, which has happened on more than 2 occasions, you yell at me. And you're like, stop being there. There's a sign that says you'll die. I'm like, that's okay. Take my picture. And yet here you are sitting there saying, go to the beaches with the tidal waves of death.
I didn't say go up to the edge of the cliff during
inconsistent reporting. Anyway, beaches get all like sandy and stuff. And yeah, people are like playing bad music and blad music. He's a rapper maybe. Kids are running by being like, I like potatoes. Like, shut up, kid. Nobody cares. And the wind's blowing your pages around. Your bumper chute is out of position. It's a terrible situation. It's easily fireplace.
All right. So that's our Would You Rather. What are your thoughts? Let us know. Thanks. Bye.
Bumper chute.